St. Anselm College. She worked for WMUR
Ran
TV.
for Congress?
In New Hampshire, she ran for Congress at the age of 25. Put on a very good canvas.
It means no more funding for transgenderism and wokeness across our federal bureaucracy and agencies.
And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg just had the worst day of her career. After months of mocking conservative voices on The View, she's now facing an $800 million lawsuit that has her visibly shaking in the courtroom. Karoline Leavitt didn't just fight back with words, she brought receipts. Secret ABC memos exposed on the stand reveal producers were instructed to tear her apart for ratings.
You think this is going to make people doubt whether CNN can stay objective, or is this more of the same of, it's all, everybody's against me, it's all rigged, 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 I tell you?
Impacted the delay on the tariffs was the president of Mexico committing to putting 10,000 permanent soldiers on the U.S.-Mexican border.
And now Whoopi's empire is crumbling before our eyes. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. What was supposed to be another routine takedown on The View turned into the biggest miscalculation in daytime television. When Karoline Leavitt appeared on the show, Whoopi Goldberg and her co-hosts thought they were dealing with just another conservative punching bag. They couldn't have been more wrong. Behind the scenes at ABC, panic had been setting in for months. The View's ratings were in freefall, and producers were desperate for anything that might stop the bleeding. An internal ABC memo, later uncovered during legal discovery, revealed their shameful game plan. Lean into her youth, push her off balance early, and make an example of her for ratings. The hosts followed this playbook to the letter. The ambush was calculated from the start. Joy Behar openly mocked Leavitt's political rise, while Whoopi Goldberg dismissed her achievements with contemptuous eye rolls. But Sunny Hostin delivered the most damaging blow, suggesting Leavitt's entire career was nothing but a product of white privilege.
They talk at you, not to you, and that's what she was doing, and she was doing it, and it's not new.
No.
But everybody's hip to you all now. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you, because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
What viewers witnessed wasn't a debate. It was a character assassination disguised as daytime television. What The View's producers failed to research was Leavitt's actual credentials. Far from the blonde airhead they tried to portray, Leavitt holds a Harvard degree and has built an impressive political resume. The stark contrast between her actual qualifications and how she was characterized on air would later become a central element in her legal strategy. Most targets of The View's wrath typically respond with angry tweets or public statements that quickly fade from memory. Leavitt chose a different path. She remained silent, methodically building a legal case while collecting evidence that would eventually shock ABC executives to their core. For months, her team quietly assembled what would become an airtight case. When Whoopi received the initial legal notice, she reportedly laughed it off, telling producers, "These conservatives always threaten lawsuits but never follow through." That dismissive attitude wouldn't last long. The moment everything changed came when Leavitt's legal team unveiled their mountain of evidence. Months of raw footage, complete with timestamps and metadata, segment rundowns revealing the premeditated nature of the attacks, and even internal production notes documenting the host's intent to reduce her to a punchline. The evidence painted a damning picture of a calculated media takedown aimed at silencing a conservative voice.
And you would have to give her the benefit of the doubt that she did absolutely no research or reading about anything dealing with Karoline Leavitt before she made that remark. Because Karoline Leavitt she went to...
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation.
The scope of the $800 million lawsuit stunned everyone involved. It wasn't just about a few nasty comments. It was about career damage and malicious intent that Leavitt's team had meticulously documented. As one network insider later admitted, "We never imagined she'd have access to our internal communications." Those internal communications would trigger the most spectacular public meltdown in daytime television history. Behind closed courtroom doors, the real Whoopi Goldberg emerged. And it wasn't the controlled, authoritative figure millions had watched for decades. When faced with irrefutable evidence of her calculated takedown attempt, television's queen of composure cracked in spectacular fashion. The contrast couldn't have been more striking. Karoline Leavitt sat poised and unwavering throughout the proceedings, while Whoopi visibly crumbled as damning evidence piled up. Courtroom observers witnessed a transformation that one source described as stunning, watching Goldberg's unshakable persona dissolve into someone clearly rattled by what was unfolding. The real drama began when Leavitt's legal team presented devastating video montages showcasing Goldberg's targeted remarks. With each clip, Whoopi physically flinched, her agitation impossible to hide. The woman who spent decades schooling others on national television was receiving a humiliating lesson in accountability. At one point, cameras caught her wiping away tears during a courtroom recess, a far cry from the confident host who enters millions of living rooms daily.
St. Anselm College, she worked for WMUR
Ran
TV.
for Congress?
In New Hampshire, she ran for Congress at the age of 25, put out a very good campaign.
It means no more funding for transgenderism and wokeness across our federal bureaucracy and agencies.
Then came the bombshell moment that silenced the entire courtroom. Emails and internal memos detailing explicit instructions to tear her apart for the sake of ratings were projected on screens for all to see. These weren't just casual communications. They were calculated directives that completely undermined Goldberg's defense. The look on her face as she realized her own production team had documented their malicious intent was described by courtroom witnesses as a mixture of shock and betrayal. Meanwhile, social media erupted in a tsunami of support for Leavitt. Hashtags like Justice for Karoline, Media Accountability, and Stand with Karoline dominated platforms as courtroom sketches of a distressed Whoopi went viral. The public wasn't just watching, they were choosing sides, and the tide had decisively turned against The View's longtime moderator. Behind the scenes, ABC executives weren't faring any better. During court recesses, they were spotted making frantic calls as reports emerged of advertisers beginning to pull out.
And she went out there for her very first briefing at the age of 27
Yeah,
years old, the youngest press secretary ever, and did a terrific job.
And then when I got to the podium, I realized the president is delivering on everything he said he was going to do, which makes my job as his spokeswoman easy because I'm not working for a politician who's lying.
Internal emails revealed brand managers reassessing their association with the show as the lawsuit threatened the network's bottom line. When Goldberg finally attempted to defend herself by claiming it was just entertainment, Leavitt's team was ready. They immediately countered with Goldberg's own past statements about media responsibility, revealing a damning hypocrisy that left her defense in tatters. ABC News is in absolute panic mode behind the scenes. Network insiders reveal they're not just planning Whoopi's exit strategy, they're actually considering canceling The View entirely. This bombshell development shows just how serious this situation has become, with one source describing it as full DEFCON at ABC headquarters. The Leavitt lawsuit has created an unprecedented crisis that could reshape how media personalities treat their targets. The days of consequence-free character assassination are over. What started as a routine ambush on a young conservative has snowballed into an existential threat for one of television's longest-running talk shows. The media landscape will never be the same again.